So welcome back, guys. This is another episode of Motley Crew Podcast, episode 11. We have a special guest here today, Natalie, myself, Mike. We have Stan and RB, a.k.a. Rob.
Okay.
All right. So today's topic is going to be a question that we've had come up in the clinic, and it is makeup necessary? And if it is, why? Does anybody want to open up the panel here?
Yeah, I'll start,
well,
I guess.
Stan will do it. All right.
So, is makeup necessary? To me, it depends. Depends on the situation. How much makeup is a different question. I think for a guy, I like the natural look. So the less makeup, I prefer less makeup, so I could really see who you are. Sometimes we get really fancy with the makeup and you look like a completely different person. So does makeup matter? Not as much to me, a little bit. I think makeup is supposed to enhance your natural beauty, not change who you look. So as a male, from my perspective, my journey in life, that's what I feel makeup is for.
So, Sam, when would you say it is appropriate then?
I mean, if you're doing something like this, or you're going to an event, or you have an important sort of business meeting or a presentation, something like to that degree, then yeah. Or you're going out with your girls, or your girls.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then when is it not necessary?
When is it not necessary? Going to the gym. I don't think it's necessary to go to wear makeup going to the gym. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of females do that. Being around the house, or going out for like daily leisure activities, or going to the supermarket or something. But again, this is for me. I'm a male. This is my perspective. I have never willfully, or just not willfully, but just never worn makeup myself in that aspect, unless I was on TV or something. But that's just how I feel about it.
Well, that would obviously be a good transition to bring it to the female perspective.
So I don't think it's ever necessary, but like, to speak to what you said, there's different gradients of it. So me as a girl, as a heterosexual, makeup is kind of like, I think it's an expectation for our gender, obviously, especially like if you're going out and stuff like that. I actually have an interesting relationship with makeup, because I struggled with acne for like a really long time when I was younger. And then I would obviously use it to conceal it. But I got to a place finally in my 30s where all I wanted to do was have like perfectly clear skin and not have to wear makeup at all. So makeup's actually kind of saved me, with respect to my self-image, like in my 20s, because I could conceal my blemishes and stuff like that. Because in terms of presentation, for pictures and whatnot, my wedding, stuff like that. So it's kind of, at one point for me, it was like a necessary evil. Obviously, as I've gotten better, and I will tell you, personally for me, I love nothing more than like really light makeup and to be able to like run my errands and not be self-conscious about my skin. I think the natural look is kind of a thing, but there's a spectrum, and I guess for a lot of men too, makeup has gotten to the point now where it's kind of an art form for a lot of people too, right?
Okay.
Male and men and women alike, or however you want to define yourself. I know I watch a lot of TikToks with like some pretty crazy makeup ideas. Things, yeah. Right? And I guess I can understand, like, for some heterosexual men, they feel a little catfished.
A little
catfish.
Bit.
Yo, you see the filters on Instagram or TikTok?
Crazy.
Crazy.
Filters that will put makeup on you. So
Yeah.
even as a girl, if you don't have time for makeup, you can just add that filter and present yourself that way.
Lies.
Yeah. I can see that. It's not going to be the same girl when you wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
Especially if the hair extensions come out and the eyelash extensions and all that stuff. But so I see it as kind of like an art form that you can kind of use to varying degrees. And then that's a personal aesthetic. But I do appreciate the idea of like not having any makeup for those reasons that I said earlier. So that's kind of my perspective.
Well, you brought up something. You said that you did it sometimes for your self-image, specifically for the acne and whatnot. Do you feel like people would treat you a little different if you did have your acne on blast? Or did you? It's because the question is like, do you think it would, and do people, or when there was times where there was acne, and let's say that you were caught off guard and whatnot, and somebody saw you, did you notice a significant change, or is it kind of all in your head like, oh, I think he's gonna think that, and then really nobody really?
Right. I've had. I was working at. Oh wow, this is taking it back.
Yeah.
I got like a holiday job at Sears Roebuck, $5.15 an hour. This was like high school. Oh, this was high school. And I had acne, and this lady came up to me. She's like, "Oh, honey," she's like, this is what you need to do. You need to put, honey. I said, honey, beeswax, something or another. She told me to get. She's like, that'll take care of the inflammation. Like, unprompted.
Yeah.
I don't have an open relationship with this woman. I'm working the cashier, and she was just like, free advice. This is what you should do. And so obviously at that age too, being really self-conscious of it, I had perfect strangers mention that to me. I was walking down Las Olas past like a facial beauty place, and the guy's like, oh, here, take this sample. It'll be great for your acne. I've had those things happen that have supported my being self-conscious about those things. So yeah.
Have you ever looked at it the opposite? Because you said that, hey, there was a period of time that was the case, but then it's not really so much now, right? So in other words, like, hey, they're pointing that out to you, but instead of being defensive about it, it's more of, well, yeah, I mean, this is what it is right now. I'm stressed out. I'm working. I'm doing.
I mean, I think that's a hard task for someone that's in their teenage or 20 years.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there a change in perspective?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you said that you essentially kind of transformed the way that you think about makeup. It was one thing at one point, and now it's another thing.
Absolutely.
Now.
Well, now we have contour. We have so many more things now.
Technology is just better now.
That we can shapeshift and define our jawlines, and there's crazy stuff that you can do now. It really, and that's why I said it really is an art form. And there's some playfulness with that. I actually have a really good friend of mine that used to work for HSN Beauty, and she would send me these packages of things that I didn't even know existed to use. I appreciate it as an art form now, but I also it really helped me. Even my husband, I would be like so self-conscious. I would wake up early and put makeup on because I didn't really want the world to see me looking like that. And that's something that I dealt with for a really long time. Then even after I had my kids, and it got worse, and stuff like that. And now I'm in a really, really healthy relationship with my skin, and I really love not having to wear it. I get to choose both now, which is the best.
All right. Well, I mean,
I'm gonna cut in a little bit.
Go ahead.
That's an experience, like I said, as a male. I would never have, like, a guy with acne. I've had you kind of roll with it. Yeah. I've had friends with terrible acne, and they just kind of live their life. Or, I've had a pimple here, and to me, it's nothing. Oh, all right, let me just pop it. Boop. And I'm good. Right. So I guess the beauty standards for men and female are just completely different. And it's it's harder. But I guess the question that I would have is yes, it helped you with your confidence. But how did it change your kind of self-identity? Having to put that, put the makeup on, or wake up early.
The emotional, because it's your face, right?
It is your face.
It's what the world sees. Right. And so it was a huge, there was a psychological toll, huge psychological toll with respect to that. And that's why I'm so grateful I am where I am, that I can literally wake up and not worry about it.
Hey world,
it's
this
nothing
is me.
that I worry about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was something that I really had to go through, and I had it from 15. I mean, I had adult acne. There was no cutoff. I would tell people, "Oh, don't worry. When you get older, it'll go away," and it never went away.
So what do you think? How do you think your life would have been different if you never had access to makeup?
Oh wow.
That's an interesting
question.
Well,
in isolation, like nobody's using it, or just me. Because I think I was very much influenced with like beauty standards
Correct.
for women, especially when I was a little more insecure in my early 20s. So,
and it's also interesting that story that you told me, that you told us about your experience working at Sears. A lot of these beauty standards are continued by women, that unsolicited sort of, hey, I'm going to help you out to fix the acne on your face.
Already implying that it's a problem.
Right, that
to
it's a
begin
problem.
with. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had experiences where, you thought, or, a guy said something, or maybe perhaps you perceived it to be because of your acne. But sometimes I feel, again, being a heterosexual male, living in this world where it doesn't really matter that much to me, clearly, right? That sometimes these beauty standards are continued by females,
right. So as a father,
you
have girls, and you have girls.
It's really interesting.
How is your relationship with the whole makeup? I mean, obviously, I could extend it to like nail polish and stuff like that, but what's your relationship with your girls? Especially when they came of age and they were asking and they wanted it. Did you hold it off? Was there a certain age where you felt, okay, and I'm more comfortable with this?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I want to be sneaky.
Sorry.
That was not that sneaky. I tried. All right, continue. Sorry.
Well, in my situation with my daughter when she was coming up, it was interesting because my wife has never been one to wear makeup. She doesn't wear it on a daily basis. She might put on some lip gloss or something like that, but that's about it. So I think my daughter was more influenced by seeing that. But as she went into her teenage years, she still start to develop problems with acne, like what you said. Okay. But even with the acne, she would sometimes go with the makeup, and then sometimes she would go without the makeup. So we took her to a dermatologist, try to solve it that way. But I've never seen her at a point where she was overly dependent on makeup. Clearly, as a female growing up in today's society, with social media being what it is, whether you think that's good or bad and it could be used for both, you're going to be influenced by those types of things. We're always influenced by the types of things that we see on television. It's since the invention of television, back in the 1950s or whenever it was, when we're able to see people live on TV, they're wearing makeup. So we look to them as a standard as to what beauty is. So you look to that, and on TV, people don't have acne, they don't have blemishes, whether you're talking about a male or a female. So you try to live up to that standard. And I know, Stan, you said it doesn't matter to you whether a female is wearing makeup or not, but I would challenge that to say when you look at the people on TV that you see that are attractive, all the singers over the years as a teenager, all the actors that you see on movies and TVs and videos and all the video girls and all that kind of stuff, these women look absolutely flawless because of the makeup that they're looking at. So when you look at the beauty in a woman, I think women think that that's the beautiful standard that we're looking at, and they're trying to attract us, so they feel like they have to live up to that standard. So I think it's a good thing. Like I said, with social media now being what it is, you see makeup as more of an art form in some social media settings, like TikTok and Instagram and things like that. You see all these makeup tutorials and these girls doing these wild and crazy and beautiful things with their face. And I think that's where my daughter sees it right now. She'll put on makeup, but she'll put it on just as an art form to make herself look very different than what she actually looks. Not necessarily to conceal a little bit of acne that she has on her skin or anything like that. She sees it more of an art form. But then also, just this as a final point, as how it could actually be seen as positive. Something came across my feed the other day about this girl. She was, I think, in her 20s, and she had impetigo. And her story was, and for those of you guys that don't know, impetigo is a skin disorder that changes your skin hue in blotches of different color. So if you're a dark complected person, you might have a lot of really, really bright spots or white spots all over your skin. So it makes you look like you're two-toned. So her story was, I've been on social media for X amount of years, and I've always walked around in the world concealing my face because I was ashamed of my impetigo, and I'm tired of doing this now. So today I'm doing my first post, and she was a social media influencer. She was cooking and all that kind of stuff. Today I'm doing my first post without any makeup on at all. And I made a vow to myself, when I'm doing posts or when I'm out there, I'm not going to wear any makeup anymore. So sure enough, I looked back on her page, and she had been this influencer for a couple of years now. And all this time, you have these perfect, flawless pictures of even toned skin, and then all of a sudden, you see what she really looks like, and she's sitting there and embracing that. So that's why I say, yeah, social media could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. So if she can do those types of things and put herself out there like that with her blotched skin from the impetigo, I think it empowers other women and other people to do the same thing when they see the little flaws on their skin. Just like Natalie said, one way you could wake up and be psychologically free from what you thought was a standard of beauty growing up all this time, because that's what you see on TV. Women and men with makeup on with this flawless skin that we're trying to live up to these standards. But if you take them off camera, they really don't even look anywhere close to that.
Well, I've thought about this too, because it was bringing up to what Natalie said before, right? You said that sometimes, or you would wake up early and you would do your makeup prior to seeing the whole world. I've seen, to Stan's point, some of the things that he would find negative about is that without the makeup, it's almost like you lose your confidence to even be your own individual self. Now, in this case, she had the confidence prior to it. She's like, oh, I'm sick of doing this makeup to hiding myself.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even say that. I think that she got to a point where she realized, like, hey, this is not truly me.
Oh, that's a better way. Yeah.
And then
So
I want to show the world who I am. But, how I would say in that story, it's great that she took that moment to express who she is and show the world who she really is. But I want a world, I guess, where she could do that from the beginning. Right?
Where she didn't have to go.
Where she didn't have to put the makeup on, right? And sorry to cut you off, myself.
That's not a big deal.
And then to your story about your daughter, yeah, she was influenced by her mother, of course, right? That didn't really wear makeup, so for her it wasn't that big of a deal. I guess it could also be what you're influenced by. Yes, TV, radio, social media. Yes, all those things, and especially in today's world. To Natalie's point, I have 3 young children. I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about their social media use. I'm like this, social media sergeant. I'm like, yo.
And I didn't even grow up with social media.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can't even imagine. I can't. Boys. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it's
reliving that self-consciousness with how media is today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for me growing up, I grew up as an athlete. Even I was very influenced by athletics growing up. So the girls that typically played athletics weren't the ones to wear makeup all the time. Mm-hmm. So you said that you would challenge my idea of the natural look. I feel like I was surrounded by that from a very young age. Even in college, like the athletes typically we stuck together. And these girls weren't the ones that were wearing tons of makeup when they went to the bar. They were just who they were. And again, I'm not a female. I'm not a female athlete. I don't know their experience. I don't know. But it's just what I sort of saw. Growing up, the girl that was working out in the gym with the sweatpants and the big shirt, like you knew, like you could see it, like the silhouette of her figure. You knew she was really attractive, but she wasn't showing it off. You were like, man. And she was about her business. It was kind of like it was.
It was the mystery.
It was the mystery. It was kind of
it
like
was a mystery, but it really was not a mystery for you.
Well, yeah, because you saw a little bit, and you
wanted to uncover the mystery.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, to me, that's what we kind of preferred more so than the ones.
No, but arguably, if you have makeup on, that's also a mystery. Just maybe not a surprise that you want to see. You know what I mean?
That's a great
You're like,
point.
wait a second, this mystery kind of sucks, actually.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Like I said, I have 3 girls. So
Sam, what would you do? You said that you have 3 girls, and they come up to you and they're like, Dad, I see my friends out here getting makeup. I see Mom wears makeup all the time. Yo, it's my time to shine right now. I need to get some makeup. And then I know you against it, and you're like, yo, what do I do? You'll be conflicted.
It's actually occurring, at this time. I have a preteen. She's about 12 years old, so she's starting to ask about long nails, putting, a clip-on or fake nails or whatever. And For me, it's a bit of a challenge.
You're like,
I think it was an important form of self-expression that I could express a little bit of independence when I was 15, and my parents were like very strict about it.
Yeah.
And I was really frustrated with that because I thought it was a really safe way to make choice, color, things like that.
Yeah.
That I really enjoyed, and it was a safe form of expression that I was denied a little bit.
Yeah.
On the other side of the spectrum. So.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I kind of tend to walk the line with that a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely a battle. Like,
There's two parts, Dan. It's exactly like she said. If you deny her way too hard,
yeah, I know.
she would just be like, "Screw you, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm doing it anyways."
That's true too.
As a rebellion type of thing.
I used to take makeup off on the bus on the way home.
Yeah.
To make sure you're like.
To make sure I didn't get in trouble. I did.
But exactly.
I was a little anti-authoritarian. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure you are one of many. I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. I think we. Okay, but yeah, so I struggle with that. Like right now, it's like a matter of nails, and I'm like, I asked him like, why do you want longer nails? Mm-hmm. What's the benefit? Oh, I just want longer nails. Then I'll give them the counterpoint to it, like, hey, what about X? They're athletes, and I'm like, hey. Perhaps longer nails is not going to be good for functioning as an athlete. You may break it, you may do etc. And then sometimes, as the dad of, like I said, 4 kids, 3 of them females, a lot of times I lose in the sense of what happens. But I still feel like it's important for me to tell them, like, hey, you're beautiful without this. You don't need this. If you choose to do it.
Right. Well, that's great.
You can do it, and I'm going to give you my points to why I don't think you should do it. If you do it, my wife with the beauty standard stuff doesn't typically see eye to eye with me, so that causes a lot of not conflict but communication or some conversations to occur. So sometimes I feel like I lose that battle often because I don't want to be too hard on them. Like I grew
Straight
up in
lockdown, right?
I grew up in a household like that, like hard Caribbean. You are a child, you are seen, not you don't speak out, you do what I say, and I don't want that for my children. But at the same time, I'm ultra against falling into the pack of what society tells you that you have to be.
So, Sam, I actually watched a podcast a little bit earlier about this, and it was talking about developmental stages in a kid. So a lot of times what the rebellious aspect of, trying to go against the parents is, one, it is a rebellion aspect, but during the teenage development, you want to see, it's almost like an opportunity to try different hats on. Mm-hmm. So if we're familiar with 2000, at least when I was going to school, at one point it's like you're either like a goth kid or you're like a rocker or you like rap or whatever. Like, so you fit into some type of tribe. And then after a little bit of time, it's like, okay, it's not cool. This is not actually me. And then you try a different thing, and then it's like, oh, you know what? Some parts of this is me and some parts is not. So as you know, if you want to join these particular groups, you have to be a certain way, right? You have to act a certain way. You might have to look a certain way, at least during that time. We know that that's not necessarily true, but in high school, that is what it is, right? In middle school or high school, to be part of these kids, you need to be that group. So I would argue to say maybe some of the nails or whatever is she wants to be with her friends, and I'm not saying that it's correct, but if she's the only odd one out, I've also heard this on many times, that a lot of times the girls don't want to be the ugly duckling of the group or like the outcast of the group. And so maybe the nails is some type of initiation, or not initiation, but like a little ticket to be like, okay, I belong here because I have these things. And then she comes to a realization by herself, like, you know what, I actually don't need these things. Or maybe she does come to a realization that, you know what, if I don't have these things, I can't go in any groups. Now, you said it already, as an athlete, you saw a lot of times the ladies on the sports teams, they didn't really have that type of stuff. But you could also recognize that, you said already, they all kind of hang out together. And so you didn't really need that type of stuff to be part of that group. What you needed was to be, in the group playing basketball or whatever sport, and you needed to kind of dress a certain way with slides or whatever. But if you ask one of those girls to go try to be part of, I don't know, more of a preppy type of look, I don't think they would fare very well. Not to say whether or not they could do it or not do it. It's just, if you just don't look like it, it's kind of like me walking out to like a let me think. Never mind. I don't even remember what I'm thinking.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think the
Never
difference
mind.
is,
Sorry,
like
that
Stan said,
failed.
he's reinforcing the verbally is a choice, right?
Yeah.
This is not something that is being imbued onto you from society, right? You don't feel like this is necessary.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a choice, if it's an artistic choice, then it's okay. And because especially that age, you're talking about like a high school demographic.
Sure.
At that age, cognitively, social friendship, yes, you're right.
It might actually be necessary,
in a
though.
way. Right.
Because you
and
literally
it is
could
a
get
safe
outcasted
form of
if you do not.
self-expression so that they can kind of self-identify, and you do wear different hats. I used to do heavy eyeliner and Jinko jeans. That was my shtick in high school. Well, in Miami anyway. Before I moved to preppy Parkland, Florida.
Yeah.
And then I did kind of assimilate to that. You're right. I don't know though. I do like the choice art form, and I just want to say I only have a 10 and a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old asked to get his nails painted for Halloween colors. And we just did that the other night, and he loved it.
5-year-old boy.
My 5-year-old boy, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, and it was just about choice and color and self-expression, and it was harmless. Obviously, at 5, I'm not worried about, and especially because he's male, right? Whatever he ends up being, it's not. I don't feel like society's forcing this on him. It's really just a creative choice.
So
and he has played with my makeup too, just because he sees mommy doing it, right?
But that's the question, right? Because you see that if you don't necessarily stop, I'm not saying that you have to stop it, but if he does that, you understand that if he goes to school with it, he may get ridiculed for
Right.
whatever, for not following the typical norms and whatnot. And then as a parent, it's like, okay, I'm not sure, like I'm for him having his own freedom to express whatever it is, but at the same token, that there are social ramifications for making some particular choices. In this case, we'll talk about colorful nails. Now granted, he is 5, so at what point would you say, what, I want to have my nails different colors, and let's just say that he's 8 or something, and he's in elementary school. What's the conversation you would have with him?
I think we're talking about two different things now, because there isn't a social. If men want to do makeup and men want to wear nails and stuff like that, it's not really because society is like saying this is the standard, right?
Yeah.
So they're making like a choice, versus a lot of hetero women feel like this is going to make me look more fertile, and this is what a man wants
Sure.
to see, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a different conversation.
I know it's a little bit of a different conversation, but that's the idea. I wanted to extend off because you're like, I wanted him to just have the choice to do it.
Yeah.
But reality, there are some times if you have the freedom of that choice, you also understand that given our society that we live in, if he goes out like that,
Yeah.
there's going to be some
that's
consequences
going to be judgment
for him.
in a different way, right?
But
That'll be
not from
judgment
you,
maybe in a different way.
Exactly.
But I'm not worried about, I wouldn't be too worried about it, to be honest with you, an 8-year-old. I mean, if he's getting judgment or feedback, negative or positive, because of that, I'm not worried about like his sense of who he is, and that he's feeling pressure to be a certain way. As a matter of fact, he'd be probably going against the grain. So at this stage, and the way society is shifting and stuff like that. So I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it.
You
at
really
8.
wouldn't worry about it.
I mean, and I think that might be a gender bias on my part, because if I had a girl, it would be different. If I had a girl that was 16 versus a boy that's 16, I think now I would worry more that she felt pressure to do it, versus if my 16-year-old boy wanted to do it, and it's just because he's experimenting and,
How do you prepare your child to go through those types of rigors? Because I think that's really what it comes down to. If your child says at whatever 8, 9, 10 or whatever that they want to wear a skirt and they want to paint their nails and so forth, and it's a boy, do you really want to stifle that? Do you want to ask questions as to where they're coming. Why do you want to do that? And then if you do choose to do that, yes, I definitely support you in what it is that your choices are. I'll definitely love you at the end of the day, but you have to know what's waiting for you on the other side of that door.
Consequences of your
Exactly.
decisions,
And
right.
not everybody's going to treat you the same way that this family will continue to treat you with unconditional love in the future. So I think the kid has to be old enough to know the ramifications of what it is that's going on, because I think as parents, our natural inclination is to protect our children at all costs. And you want to shield them and hide them from all these things that would be detrimental to them growing up, their self-esteem, their self-image, all these types of things. You want to be able to have your kid as well adjusted as possible. But if your kid is trying to express themselves in a different way, and then you're trying to stifle that, I think you could actually be causing the sense of not having your kid well adjusted. You're the one that's going to be looked at like, he's not letting me do this, or my parents aren't letting me do that. And then that's where the rebellion sets in. So there's got to be that balance between the kid making the choice, understanding, and then a little bit of give and take between what the kid wants, and then having them grow up to be a full-fledged functioning adult that can take everything that the world's going to throw at them, versus just trying to hide them from everything all the time, versus you just trying to control every aspect of their life. You're going to do this, this, and that, like how Stan said he grew up and how many Caribbean children grew up. So I think the balance has to be had there, but understanding has to be made on all aspects between the parents and the children.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. Well, does anybody have anything else to add about if makeup is necessary? I know we deviated a little bit off path there, but that's all right. I mean, that's kind of what
That's
we do.
what we
in
do.
here.
That's
That's what we do in here. Anything to add?
Well, to Rob's point a little bit earlier, it's good to see on social media and just media all together that, you know, more women are coming out and they're doing the natural look. I remember the Alicia Keys thing a couple of years ago.
She's actually voiced a lot about her struggles with acne
Yeah.
too. She used to be proactive, which
Exactly.
is, you know, her and I were just like the same age, and that was actually a really good role model for me
Yeah.
at the time when it happened.
So yeah, so there's definitely some benefits to, you know, the social media and the media outreach. But again, my concern is just for my girls, as I just don't want them to fall into that, you know, that trap of I need to wear makeup all the time. Like, it shouldn't be a need. And I discuss this with my girls all the time. Do you need or do you want? Right? There's a difference. Do you have to, or is it something that you want to? So to answer the question, does makeup matter? I don't think it matters that much. Not to
If it
me.
matters to them, yeah. If it
Yeah.
matters to the person, it's
But if it if it matters to that individual,
and it's their independent choice.
correct. And it's a choice.
Right.
Well, that's what we want it to be, right? Not a necessity. Is
Correct.
it necessary? No. Is it a choice? We would hope so.
And sometimes a fun choice.
Yeah, absolutely. As
Yeah.
an art. But I think it's also empowering to just go outside and just not have to wear anything.
I love that too.
Me too. I love that too. Yeah, same.
So what's your take on this, Tang? I
For
mean,
what?
is makeup necessary? Because I know you've been moderating the whole time, so a lot of
Yeah.
times you don't get your opinion. So I want to make sure we get your opinion on all these things.
Is makeup necessary? Everybody kind of fleshed out some of the different ideas, but my thought on it is I would say it's dependent on the situation, right? As everybody's mentioned. However, coming from like a male perspective, I don't understand a lot of times where like it seems like people try to force makeup onto a particular scenario, whether it's necessary or not. So, for example, like Stan said, if you go to the gym and you see all these girls wearing makeup, yes, it's not necessary. But at the same time, is it really like that bothersome to you for you to not, or for them to wear makeup? Probably not, right? You could argue to say that maybe they find it necessary that they would be able to work out harder because they're not so focused on thinking about what their face looks like. Is a possibility. Now, I look at that and I think this is a little silly, but I don't know what she's going through. Maybe it's not silly. Maybe it is really necessary. That's their pre-workout that they need prior to going to lift weights.
The gym thing is, I think, the gym thing is way excessive. I mean, if you're there to work out, makeup. I mean, yes, you can throw a matte spray on it and not have to worry about sweat and all of that stuff. I mean, it's that person's choice. I would think it's a nuisance. Completely?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's even to assume that they're going to work out. We could say there's a lot of girls who go there. It's not actually to work out. Yeah, it's just to hang out. And in which case, priority. You said it already, Stan. Hey, if they're going out for some social night out, then wouldn't that be appropriate according to what you just said? Their night out just so happens to be at the gym.
Or they're going in there to try to look attractive to meet somebody at the same time, too.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
They're trying to get their gym crush or whatever.
They're recording their IG workout.
Yeah, they're trying to let people know that, they're getting the booty gains or something, So
go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I say, like, necessary. I don't even know what necessity. Like, sometimes I think the word necessity is like a matter of perspective. You know what I mean? It really is. Like, what you find necessary may not be necessary for somebody else.
And is there such a thing as too much makeup? At what point does it become deceptive? If you're really, because I've seen these people on Instagram.
Arguably, it's always deceptive. It is not you.
No, well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I've seen some some people on Instagram where they'll show their before and their after shots.
Yeah.
And their before shot, after shots with makeup on and all that, dime piece, looking like a 10 out of 10. They take off their makeup and they're fully revealing it. They go down to like about a 2 out of 10, something like that, straight up.
When we follow up on this, I have to show you guys some of the Korean.
Oh yeah, the Korean,
where they literally will use invisible tape to reshape their faces.
Right.
I've seen it.
I mean, to make themselves look like more like anime, like more of this almost like fantasy look.
Mm-hmm.
So it's.
And I would think that
take it so far.
And I would think that most guys wouldn't want to have a woman that wears that much makeup to the point where she looks completely different than what she originally looks, especially when you're meeting them for the first time. You meet them for the first time, you're attracted physically to a person, you're attracted mentally to their mind and so forth, and then you date them for a while, then all of a sudden you see them without makeup, you're like, what the hell just happened? You know what I'm saying? It's too much.
I want my money back.
It's too much.
But sometimes I would go ahead and say there's a lot of guys who do like the makeup look, the overdone look. Now, I'm not one of those guys, but I think there is a subset. So in other words,
but it's based on situation though. Like if you're first seeing a person or you're dating an individual and you don't really know how they look.
That's a problem.
That's a big problem. Now, if you know how they look and they're like your wife and some guys are like, okay, yeah, I'd like you to be glamored up. Okay, that's fine.
I look at it almost like fishing for specific fish. You know what I mean? So
no, explain.
So, for example, if you want to, a certain type of look will draw a certain type of person, right? So for you. And myself and maybe Rob, if we see a very overdone look, we will not be necessarily attracted to it. But maybe they're trying to get individuals who are attracted to that type of thing. So they put that look out there specifically to target those individuals. Mm-hmm. So likewise, if you want to put on like a football jersey or whatever, like a very athletic look, you're going to draw in a different crowd than if you have some spectacles and you looking a little bit more studious per se.
But I think the overdone look, if you actually look overdone, correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie, if you actually look overdone, your makeup is actually a bad makeup job.
So this is interesting because you can, I will say with social media now, like the contouring and like, it's really almost like there's more of a push, especially from like maybe I would say like 15, 20 years ago to it in real life. You may look a little theatrical, but your social Instagram pictures are going to look great when you go out with your girls. Right. So like, it's almost like, these lashes might be a lot when we're talking face to face, but I know they're going to look more popped and more natural, when I get the pictures at the end of the night, which is really what I'm going for. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more acceptable, I think, even among girls, to have a little bit more theatrical makeup because now it's really about, how you're going to record it, how it's going to look when you share it with your friends and stuff like that. I think that's changed, back in like the 90s and the 200s, we weren't worried about taking pictures every time we went out.
Right.
So
But it might not even, because I was actually thinking about this too. Maybe sometimes the makeup, because we're talking about it from our perspective, whether or not we like it or not. What if they're not even doing makeup for us?
we're not.
They're not.
That's what I'm trying to get at, right?
We do it
So-
for ourselves and for other girls.
Exactly, for
And
themselves and
or-
other girls.
And or men
Yo.
that know how much time
Yeah.
it took.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, who's going to appreciate the time and effort and the art?
Yo, that's
And,
my
like-
argument for shoes.
Yes, we don't do this
Yo,
for our husbands, our boyfriends.
why do you need so many pair of black shoes?
It's not about you, Stan. It's not about
It's
you.
not about. Yo, I like those right there. No, the rest of them, give them away.
But it's not about you.
It's not
Stan.
about that.
Yeah.
It's not about the male, but I get that, and again, it speaks to the challenges for being a female in today's society, and to my earlier point, I think sometimes it's propagated by the females.
I would say oftentimes.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's cultural for even for our gender, it's cultural.
Yeah.
Or for the people that are now men that love there are tons of men that just love using makeup. However they identify, it's kind of like I will tell you this. I even know, like, my cognitive bias when I look at a picture and it's like I see girl before and before makeup, after makeup. I naturally will associate the girl who's done up a little bit more. The lashes look longer, the lips are redder. Biologically or because of culture, that looks more attractive to me. I think I'm already programmed.
Or maybe
sure.
you just
I
find it
admit
more
that.
aesthetically pleasing. I mean, is it so much of a biological thing? Or, I mean, like, how much can we really separate it? Right? Because if you go and look at, I don't even know where you could find like a different media source that wouldn't have that as a spectacle. Because if you're looking at American-produced media, it might be a little bit different than Indian-produced media or Chinese-produced media.
Yeah.
And so then beauty standards are different. Yet everywhere, it seems to be apparent that makeup is like a very prevalent everywhere. I just don't know if there's any locations where makeup is not prevalent and it is massively distributed.
Makeup and jewelry has been around.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to get at.
The Egyptians did it.
So
Everyone.
It might not be just our cultural thing. It might just be I wouldn't say a biological thing, but possibly hey, we're putting on or wearing different things to make ourselves look more aesthetically pleasing.
Well, a lot of makeup serves the purpose of looking, especially even covering acne, you look more healthy. We associate that with health. We associate acne more with disease or sickly, or there's a process there's an inflammatory process there, right?
Well,
using makeup for symmetry, if your skin looks dewy and your lashes are long and your lips are plump, I think that there's for a hetero man, there's probably some sort of passive process that goes on that that person
What you called it again?
seems more biologically fertile or more attractive.
Sam, what was the term that you used for the you said something for not normals, but the girls who were tall or something?
Yeah. So back in my college days, I got to preface this. We had a breeding potential chart.
Yes, breeding potential.
Yeah.
You guys actually made a
Yeah,
chart?
yeah. Well, no, we didn't make it. It wasn't we didn't have this scale of 0 to 10. But in our minds, and when we talk to one another, we'd be like, yo, that's breeding potential right there. The Amazonian type 5 to
Wow.
again. But because for me, I was an athlete, so we looked at girls in that fashion. If you were 5'10", you had the thick thighs.
Your kids could play basketball. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
It was
Breeding they'll
that's
probably be healthy kids.
correct. You can pass on the lineage of athleticism, right? So that was important to us. So that was breeding potential. The ones with the makeup and.
Well, that's really honest.
What's that?
You're sharing that you guys actually did that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
honest.
real thing.
I'm
it's
so
true.
surprised. I don't think that I've actually ever heard of that. I think we had something similar at girls, slam books. But it was more which guy's more kissable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For us, it was breeding potential. You know.
Ours was
Breeding
G-rated
Yeah.
version of that.
Let me tell you, we would assess like hamstring. How did the ham?
What?
Yo, it was.
How do they insert?
It was scientifically typically done. Yeah.
That's dope.
I want to say.
Yeah.
It is kind of dope, actually. Never really thought about it. That's not normally the diction that's used, my friend.
What's that?
What's
that?
If they are good breed potential,
Breedable.
that's
Yeah.
very like scientific.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
It's
it was
usually a lot more grotesque as
No,
I'm familiar with.
we had it. It was down to a science, you know. And again, you didn't have to be 5'10". You could have been 5'4", 5'5", but you know the makeup. It was a scientific chart.
Makeup in a different way. Yes.
Yes, in a completely different
Genetic
way.
makeup he's talking about.
For sure.
The
Bring it full
phenotype
circle. Bring it back
expressions.
to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
original.
Yeah, the phenotype expressions, my friend. All right. Okay, well, I'm pretty much flushed out on this idea, unless anybody's got anything to add. All right, well, that's another episode 11, Motley Crew Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie, for
Thanks.
coming
It's
through.
real.
Rob, put that cup under the table, please.
Yeah.
Get that out of here.
All right, so we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah.